Hello everyone! Welcome to the 9th episode of my Create This Book series. Today I'll be working on 4 prompts, and as always, I'll link the playlist with all of the existing episodes thus far in the description below. But without further ado, let's get started! First up, create a secret. Write a secret here, cover it up somehow. So for those of you who watched last week's episode know that I have started reading this year, and I have decided to kind of dedicate this prompt to my reading journey, I guess. So I have decided to put book spoilers on the page and then cover it up with these 2 panels that I'm creating right now. On the left we have a so-called book nook. So it's basically a box made out of wood or cardboard, and there's a little landscape or a little magical place in it. So it exists in this natural way that I have depicted here, or I think the most famous that I've seen is like Diagon Alley from Harry Potter, or like anything in that realm. There's also DIY kits with book nooks, which I find super cool, and I really want to get one, but I also really don't have the space for it. Like my bookshelf contains, I want to say about like 20 books right now, and it is busting. So yeah, no space for any additional books or a book nook. I'm mostly an ebook reader anyways, but I found the concept of book nooks really nice. And on the other page we will find a little library, and I found this picture of Pinterest and just decided to copy it, change out the decorations a little bit. And also while filming I noticed that I recorded it wrong. So I forgot to hit record as I was coloring most of the books. I initially intended to make it in that way where I would record after I finished like coloring each little book, but that idea flew right out of the window after I finished, I want to say, about like 3 book series. Also, let me know if you can recognize any of the book series, because I did put some very popular and very well-known book series in there. In the end, I'm really happy with how it came out, both of the pages. And then I put Mod Podge on top of it and glued it over the secrets, which I'll give you a glimpse of, because, you know, if you're into reading, I obviously don't want to spoil you guys. I mean, I did this on purpose, but I know how bad book spoilers can be. Like I remember precisely reading a quote of Silver Flames, and then in the middle of it I was like, what the actual heck is happening with this character? Like, are we seeing any development? And then I went on Book Talk and I looked up the character featuring like character development and something, and I clicked on a video, and the video was spoiler free, but the comments weren't. So I like clicked on that, and then one person said, well, did we literally forget that X, Y, and Z? And I was like, are you kidding me? I just gave myself the biggest spoiler, and that is so infuriating when you're in the middle of the book and then you accidentally read something and you can't unread it. And I know it would have been such a good plot twist, and I robbed myself of that. So if you plan on reading, or if you're reading yourself, just never look up anything about the book until you're done with it, because it was so infuriating. But yeah, for those of you who don't read, I guess you can pause the video at the right time if you manage to do so and read the spoilers. And if so, I mean, we can have book chat in the comments if you like. Tell me what's your favorite book, which one I should read. I can just really recommend Akatar series, obviously. I mean, hello. And then also the Once Upon a Broken Heart series was the thing that actually got me back into reading. Yeah, this is the page. But let's move right along. The next page of the week is Create Obscure Shapes. Fill this page with unusual shapes. Rule: do not add anything recognizable to this page. Make it purely abstract. This has got to be the page that took me the absolute longest. I think I sat on it for 3 hours. I watched a couple of YouTube videos while I was filming, and my patience was ending and my hand was dying. Like, I had such bad cramps throughout of this page. I didn't realize that whilst I was like sketching out the little shapes, how much work it would be So my plan was to just sketch it out, color it with colored pencils, and then line it and be done with it. It didn't turn out like that. Also, there's a little Charlie break. I just realized you guys have never seen Charlie, but this is his head, top of his head, and then he also decided to sit on my desk and just have his tail in the way, but he's gonna be gone soon as I finish this. Yeah. Now you can see me try and color this, and then I was like, I got my epiphany, and yeah, just recorded after every shape that I drew. This also was so time consuming, because I could not relax, because I had to remember to record after I've drawn each shape. It was a hassle. This whole page was a hassle. It looks so simplistic, and I'm actually happy with how it looks, but wow, my hand hurt so much. I had so many cramps. I gotta say, I needed at minimum 2-day break of drawing after this, because my hand still hurt. I didn't even press super hard, but it was just very, very tedious, and a 2-day break I took. On the positive side, this page was really easy and didn't require much thinking. So yeah, let's move on to the next page. This page said, create boredom, make this page boring. My concept for this page was very simple. I was just going to make some studies of women, or women's heads in particular, because I don't find it boring, but it's also nothing special, nothing that is super intricate or requires a lot of thinking. And boring to me is also just establishing the base of drawing. So obviously when you start drawing, you have to learn the basics, and I spent a lot of time learning how to draw heads when I was 16 or something. I practiced on K-pop idols, but I eventually, I think I want to say 4 years later, started to draw girls again, or women, and I think I've stuck to it ever since, and I'm not the biggest fan of drawing males anymore. But yeah, I remembered that there once was this challenge going around called the 100 Heads Challenge, and it was just an assortment of different people of different ages, different body types, different ethnicities, and it was just a great range of things to draw. So I went on Pinterest and just typed in 100 Heads Challenge, and there were millions of boards, honestly. So I just picked one where I, liked what I saw, and I just sketched whatever spoke to me, whatever I found interesting, and I think I ended up with 7 people. This exercise was honestly really relaxing to me, and you can see the progression of like my hand warming up. Like the first 3 or 4 really don't look that great, or don't look that great in comparison to the latter 3, and I think you can really tell, but it was a kind of relaxing exercise, and it was nice to draw people again, since I haven't done that in a while, since I've kind of drawn back from that quite a bit, because lo and behold, people have become boring to me, which is very ironic, because that's the prompt of the page, which was not my intention. It was just gonna do some studies, but yeah, there's that. And then also later, for the quote-unquote background for this page, I just used some cross-hatching, because that's also a type of like warm-up. When you want to start drawing, you can do some hatches and some different types of filling a page to just warm up your hand, which I honestly never do, but I thought it would be a nice way of going back to that initial thought of learning the basics and all of that. Also, if you noticed, I always start out with the nose. Well, I do like a general head shape, starting out with a circle, then the jaw, and then map out the nose, eyes, and mouth. But I always start with the nose because I just love drawing noses. I love when people have a cute nose. I love myself a good nose. So, yeah, I don't know. What do you guys start drawing with? Like when you draw a face, what is the first thing you draw? I know that a lot of people start with the eyes, but that always threw me off because I did them either way too high up or way too low, and then I had to rearrange the whole face, so now I just start in the middle. Oh, and unintentionally I left some of the irises of, I think, 2 girls just blank. I don't do that on purpose, I sometimes just forget. I kind of like that look, but sometimes I don't, and I'm very inconsistent with that, so don't mind me, don't mind the empty stares of the girls. And last but not least, I was told to create doodles, fill this entire page with mindless doodling. My concept for this page was really simple. Well, it has a bit of a backstory, so when I was around like 14, 15, that age, I used to make these sheets with random blobs with faces, and I did that for like seasonal decor. I made Christmas cards with it, I made Easter cards with it. That was my thing back then. And so I tried to, in reminiscence of that, create a doodle page that is on the theme of summer. So I made some doodles that reminded me of summer, such as a pool floaty in form of a dino, or some fish underwater. I think I did a little whale as well. So just little summer doodles. I also had the sun in the corner where it should be. And back then I had some characters that kept reappearing. For example, the 2 figurines on the bottom that are wearing party hats, or for example the snake that's all throughout the picture I kept doing, or the clouds with the little swirlies at the top as like kind of like the curl as their hair. Yeah, so I tried to include as much as possible from back then, and I think it turned out pretty cute. I also realized afterwards that it's lacking a lot of contrast because nothing is defined really or has shading to it. But in a way, I also think that looks quite cool, so I didn't want to change it and I didn't want to disrupt it, so your eye kind of like bounces throughout the page and, you know, constantly sees new things. Yeah. And yeah, I just went over it with watercolor, and it turned out way paler than I expected it to, but it also kind of reminded me of summer colors, so it's not that bad after all. But yeah, that was this page, so let's move on to the flip through. First up in this episode, we created a secret, which in my case were book spoilers, and I covered them up with a book nook on the left and a little homemade bookshelf library on the right. Secondly, I created obscure shapes and lost my hand in the process because that was way too tedious for such a simple prompt. In the end, I'm obviously happy with how it came out, even though it is kind of lacking a subject because there's just stuff everywhere and your mind and your eyes just bounce. But apart from that, I'm happy with this page. Second to last, we created Boredom by making studies of faces and going back to the basics and reminding the brain how faces and heads are constructed. And lastly, we filled the entire page with some summer doodles. As always, I hope you enjoyed watching this episode. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I know I never ask you this because I always forget, but this is one of those episodes where I remembered. I hope to see you in the next episode, and until then, goodbye!